Welcome, everybody, to this new episode of the Women in Tech Spotlight. Today, I have with me Pearl Oguchi. She is a QA engineering lead at Meta. Please like and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of the coming episodes. Welcome, Pearl.
Hi.
Nice to have you here with me. Please, let's start out by telling the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. Good to be here. I'm Pearl Oguchi, and I'm QA engineering lead at Meta. I've been at Meta for about 5 years now, almost 5 years. I started out in the tech industry as a junior tester so many years ago, early mid 2000s. And over the years, I've been at different companies, like progressing in the career up to a senior tester, and then I've been a manager as well. I've even been a director once, but now I've settled at Meta as a QA engineering lead. I'm married with 3 children and a puppy who is asleep right here now, and you can't really see him. I also have a side gig as an elected local councilor in Hemel Hempstead, Dacorum Borough Council. I've only got 1 year term left as I got elected in 2018. So looking after about 4,000 constituents with, issues around crime and, littering and green spaces and so on. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, wow. So, Pearl, you have a lot going on in your life. So, you are in politics, you are in tech, you have a family with 3 kids and a dog. How do you do it?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I found that delegating a lot really helps. So I had a nanny for a while. And now the kids are old. The eldest is in secondary school now. And the twins are, well, they're about 11, they're 11 years old, almost 12 years old. So they can do most things themselves now. So yeah, I delegate to them now, get them to clean up after me. And yeah, I guess I try not to stress out too much.
Okay, so the kids are now old enough to take off part of the load, which is lovely, I guess. But still, um, being a QA engineering lead at Meta comes with a lot of responsibility, I would assume. Tell me what you love about this job and what you do actually.
Well, okay, let's start with what I do. So as a QA engineering lead, at Meta, quality is everyone's responsibility, not just QAs, because I've worked in previous places where QA was quality was QA's responsibility, right? If anything went wrong, QA got the blame. But here it's quite different. Everyone has the responsibility of thinking about quality, and if you find a problem, don't wait for QA to come and fix it. Or don't wait for engineers to fix it. Try and fix it yourself if you can. We have a saying that no problem is someone else's responsibility. If you see something is broken, fix it. Don't wait for someone else. That's pretty much it. And what I do is my work involves a lot of collaboration. So collaboration with engineers, collaboration with the product owner, UX designers, and so on. We work together to build the product, and my role within that is not only to ensure that we test the product regularly, flush out bugs and things like that, but I also help out with implementing quality processes that people are encouraged to follow. I say encouraged because it's not a must. Um, People are encouraged to follow so that whatever we build is, has been, what's the word? Well, it's stable, basically. Whatever we build is stable. So this could be, how code is written sometimes, the tests, automated tests that are written, even giving feedback during designs and things like that. So it's all a process that starts from the beginning to the end of the life cycle. And when I say the end, after the product has gone out to users and even beyond. Now, what I like about this role is I have the freedom, and it's not just about my role, this is about Meta in general. I have the freedom to carry out my responsibilities in the best way I know how. So I get to decide on how to approach a particular problem, and I get to come up with possible solutions as well, as long as I've got the backing of the team, because they're the ones who will be implementing this, and they'll be the ones adopting this process. So of course they've got to agree with it, and they've got to back me up. So and also the fact that the role is constantly evolving as well. You're not stuck in doing one particular thing. You get to decide the impact you want to make. So very often you need to be able to step outside of your comfort zone and to make that impact. So in doing that, you get to learn a lot and experience different things. So it's not you're not stuck in a rut, basically. That's what I like about the role.
That's so interesting, because what I see is that the job is not just tech and you have this flexibility, but I also feel it's very creative. So you have a lot of room for to bring in your own personality. And that's something I think a lot of people underestimate when they think about roles in tech. The picture we have in our head is about, sitting in front of the computer and maybe coding. But what you described is something that's very communicative and also very creative, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we all get direction, right? Like we get direction from the top saying, okay, this is our mission. Okay, this is the kind of product we want to build, right? So it's all vague and all of that. And then the product team will decide on how they want to build that, what they're going to build to achieve that mission, and so on. So there's a lot of creativity involved. Even with me, my own how I have to be creative is figure out the best sorry. I need to be able to figure out the best way to collaborate with these teams as well, because they've got their own roles, they've got their own mission, their own agenda as well. So I've got to be able to tie my goals into theirs as well. I've got to think of ways to do that. And because we're all working together towards a common goal, um, I'll have to think about, okay, how can I unblock these folks? How can I make sure that the quality of the product they're building withstands the pressures of when it goes out there, So then I can think, okay, maybe I can speak to each person and figure out what the biggest quality pain point that they think there is, or what is stopping them from doing particular things and all of that. Then I have to come up with ideas about how to solve these problems, so that's where the creativity comes in. Sometimes I when I'm sleeping at night and I just wake up and it's like, oh my God, I know how to fix that, things like that. So it's always you're always constantly thinking about how to make that impact in your team.
There's one thing I was thinking about when you told me about how, you just get this mission and then you have to make it come to life. And how you do that is part of the creative process of all of you people involved in creating this product. And that reminds me of a topic that's very close to my heart, and this the whole diversity.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear the wind?
I can hear it a little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right. It's crazy outside. Sorry.
But that's fine. So what I was saying was there is this whole topic around diversity in tech that's very dear to my heart, because as you just described, there is this process of creating a product where all of you chime in and you bring your different viewpoints, and the end product is actually a representation of the people.
That's right.
There is a mission. And for me, this is the reason why it's so important to have different bring all our viewpoints into the technology, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this is why diversity is very important within a team.
Mhm.
Like, you don't want the same people with the same interests, the same backgrounds,
Mhm.
to build a product, because it'll exclude a lot of people. I mean, at Meta, we cater to billions of people, so they're not only one set of people as traditional um, tech companies might cater to, or even if it was like, I don't know, all those years ago where the people who built this product were from a very limited set of backgrounds. But if you're catering to this large number of people, or a product that's used by, loads of people from around the world, you need to have different perspectives, And I'm not just talking about race or gender. I'm talking about socioeconomic background. I'm talking about um, people who have lived in different parts of the world, people who, are open and had so much experience, because bringing all of this together, you will see that your product is eventually, going to be enjoyed by lots, because people who are using the product will see themselves in that, and that's what keeps bringing people back together. So for example, um and I would say the Facebook app, because I use it a lot, and not because I work there, but even before I started working there, I was using it quite a lot as well. And I found that a lot of the features are very, very useful for me. And the main thing I use about that feature is groups. I find groups to be one of the best features within that, because it makes me interact with people from all over the world. And a lot of the things I've learned recently, when I say recently, I would say in the last 4 years or so, is from groups. It's from interacting with people from, all these groups, from all over the world. And because we have such a diverse set of people within these groups, the tools that have been built in there, the way that admins are able to manage these groups, you know, stem from this, stem from the fact that, the group has to cater for so many people. So it's really, really important that teams are diverse to cater for the wide array of audiences.
I think this is also a good example of how companies are more successful when they have this diverse teams, because they build these solutions that cater to all these different groups and age groups, genders, cultural groups, religions, and all that. And this brings me to my topic on why we want to have more women in tech, to make sure that they're represented. And it also brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. Did you always know you wanted to be in tech, or is this something that happened to you? Tell me.
I think it just happened to me.
Mhm.
Um, Growing up, I really had no idea about what I wanted to do. At one point, I thought I wanted to be a journalist, and then I discovered I didn't really like to write, and I wasn't that creative. And then I got my degree in media and communications, and it was only like 3 or 4 years after my degree, I stumbled into tech, and I realized that I'm a geek at heart. I mean, I'm not overly technical. I don't know how to code, but I do love technology. So this is why I've stayed on for so long. And I want to like go as far as I can in my career. I mean, I've thought about all the different careers I could move on to from QA, but then I thought, you know what, I'm already enjoying what I'm doing. The best thing I do is I'm old as well, so I've only got a few more, couple of decades at the very least left in my career. So let me go as far as I can in the QA field. At the very least, try and change the perception people have about QA. I think that's the least I can do. And everything was just accidental, and I'm glad it happened that way.
Interesting that so many of us women actually stumble into tech, and it's not something we set out to do. I'm one of those women as well. And what I also love is that not only do you enjoy being in tech, you also try to bring more diversity into tech, not just women, but especially Black women. You talked about Facebook groups, and that reminded me that the way I found you was through this Black Women in Tech group that you actually founded. Tell me a little bit more about what you intended to do with that and how it progressed.
Right. So when I started in tech all those years ago, I would say that I barely worked with any women. I think I worked with, and I've been in the industry for about at least 15 years.
Mhm.
So I barely worked with them, maybe two or three, no Black women, and maybe two Black men in tech. Everyone else was just, a white bloke, just, in the engineering team. It was only when I came to Meta, Facebook at that time. I remember my first day. I just sat on my desk for the first time. I looked around, and then I saw these women in the where the engineers sit, and I thought, oh my God, look at these women. Wow, I've never seen so many women. And there were about five of them, which is way more than I had ever seen in my career in one place. So I was really, really in awe. Um, we do have so many more female engineers now, which is good. But at that time, it was like, it was jaw opening. Over time, as I was working there, I realized that, hang on, we don't have that many Black faces here. We got to do something about it. And this is one of the things I love about working at Meta. Like I mentioned before, that no problem is someone else's. If you see a problem, fix it yourself. And I'm so lucky that we are in a position where, employees can take charge and solve problems. So because of all the employee resource groups and, things and tools, resources that encourage all the employees to build community inside the company and outside the company as well, I thought, okay, let me start this group. First of all, I didn't think about starting the group. I went on to Facebook and I started searching. I thought, there are not that many, very, very, very few Black women in tech. So I thought, okay, let me just, see if I can join a network and meet other Black women. And I searched, nothing came up. And I looked at LinkedIn and all of that. There wasn't really that much of a community. I thought, okay, let me create this group. But before I did that, I talked to a lot of people because I'm not very social. I am social, but I don't build things, So I after getting some advice, I created the group and shared it about just spread the word. Some people joined, but it was very, very quiet. I was a bit scared, like, oh my God, nobody's talking in my group or nobody's joining in my group. But after several months, lots of people started joining and the group just sprung to life. Don't ask me how. I don't know. I didn't do any marketing or anything. I just let it run its natural course. And most of the people who join are through organic ways. They just search for a group and join it. I don't have to do anything. So I'm lucky. The group is about 6,000, mostly Black women in there. I say mostly because it's got allies in there. When I say allies, I'm talking about people that can help the Black women in the group, advance their careers or join the tech industry. So I'm talking about recruiters or training coaches and all of that. I started the group to help Black women connect in tech and to also give others who always thought about joining tech, but it seemed like so far-fetched. Like, oh my God, you've got to be a mathematical genius to be in tech and all of that, to show them that it's not that complicated. And so yeah, it's evolved to way more than I ever thought it would. And then constantly seeing all those posts every day about people announcing that they finally got their foot in the door, and it's just so nice to read, and it makes me feel like, okay, great, if you leave this world today, at least you have left a small footprint, so which is good.
It's inspiring to see the women in the group, growing and helping each other and all these things. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think you just found like an opportunity that was there, that there was something missing, and that was a group for Black women who wanted to go into tech. And you created this space, and that's why they're coming, and you don't have to do anything, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the intention was for me to do as little as possible. I see the admins of other group, working so hard to like keep the quality of the group and make sure that people behave themselves and, nobody's bullied and all of that. I'm so lucky that I haven't had to do all of that yet, but the purpose of this platform in my mind was just give them the space, like let them run it. And then I would be at the background, just making sure everything is, still professional and calm, and nothing gets out of hand. But in terms of just letting the women like just run through, as long as it's tech related and the odd gossip here and there, keep the group interesting, it's totally fine.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit about how it was years ago when we joined tech and we found that we were the only women in a room full of white men. So tell me a little bit about the obstacles you overcame to get into this position, if you'd like to talk about that, not necessarily obstacles, but your strategies to be successful in this situation.
Right. So I grew up in the 90s. And by the time I was a teenager, like 16, 17, the internet had just become accessible to a few people. And so the idea of tech was almost unknown to most people, right? And only those who could afford phones could. And then phones were just a tool to call and text people. And then we had the likes of, Yahoo Mail and web crawler, browser, and all of that. So I didn't even know how to use these tools. So the idea was so far-fetched. Um, I Tech was not even in my mind, like having a career. I just thought that, you had to be a genius in mathematics, and I hated maths, so struck that off completely. It was much later on. I got a job as a customer service rep for an online gaming company, and occasionally they would ask us to, test. I didn't know it was called testing then. They'd ask us to test new features that they want to release. And this was like in the very, very, very early days of multiplayer role-playing games. This game led the way for games like Fortnite and all those other games that people enjoy today. So I tested it, and and that was my introduction to software testing. And I thought, okay, this is quite interesting. Maybe I need to learn more. So I just started researching a bit. I had no idea, because I had no idea what I was doing when I was testing. I just checked that things worked. It was much later on during my research that I figured out the different techniques to learn how to test, and the kinds of things you should be thinking about, and how to report issues and things like that. So I also decided to take a certification. Then it was called the ISEP exam, which is a software testing certification, being hosted by the British Computer Society. And people who took this were like, if you passed it, you got your certificate, then you were a qualified software tester. I took the exam and I failed. I barely made it, so practically failed. But then I thought, okay, I can't put myself through all that again. So I just said, do you know what? The exam has taught me a lot about it, so I'll just go ahead and apply for jobs. So in my CV, I just put I had knowledge of ISEB. I didn't pass, but I do have knowledge because of all the studying I did, giving examples about, all these testing situations when you put yourself in, like, and how you would solve those problems in my CV. And then eventually, after applying for a few roles, I got myself a contract role as a junior tester, which was fair enough because I had no experience. So junior very well. And that's how I got the role. When I first started, I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned on the job. And expanded my experience, and over the years did a lot of contract roles, a few permanent positions as well, before I found myself here at Meta all those years later. So that's how I got into tech. It's not it's very different. I think it was a very, 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 very different time back then. So even then, when because a lot of people I knew who were doing contracts in, like, testing and um, IT roles generally, it was pretty straightforward to get a role. You have a phone interview and they tell you to come the next day, like start next week or start the next day. You didn't have to go there and prove yourself, because it was still, at that time, it wasn't an oversubscribed industry, right? So the talent was like very well needed back then. So things have changed now. So the methods are a little bit different. You see a lot of people, getting certifications and trying to get experience off the books. So rather than getting experience in the company, they would go and, for example, take an engineer, they would go and build an app by themselves, to practice them, practice their coding skills, and at the same time have a portfolio that they can show potential interviewers what they can do. So it's changed a lot now. But yeah, that was that was my experience. I don't know about prejudices yet, because then I was young, naive. I was a young girl who only came to the country for, I haven't been there that long. So my experiences about racism and prejudices was non-existent, really. So if there was any prejudice along the line, I was totally oblivious to it, because I didn't know what it looked like. So I suppose this is something most people do.
Because I also grew up in Nigeria, and coming here, I couldn't tell you if I experienced racism, because I've
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
and that is definitely helpful in a situation where you are the only one, like in tech, as a Black woman, because
Yeah.
you think about these things as much, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did tell you that trying to fit in was a bit different, because, it was the man versus woman thing. I did try, because I was surrounded by men, and, put in the extra effort. Like when they're chatting and talking, try to chime in with your very little tiny knowledge of football, for example, or when they talk about games and girls, try to be one of them. Oh God, it was painful. It was painful.
So exhausting, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's true. That's true. Trying to fit into the group, trying to understand, to talk about cars and things might not actually care that much about.
Yeah, exactly.
Conversation. Yeah, I feel that. So, Pearl, this is such an interesting journey that you have taken, and I love it. And now, from what you learned throughout those years, is there anything you would like to tell young women, like maybe a strategy, a motto, or just a recommendation of how they can be successful?
I would say number one, and this is pretty obvious, but it's harder than it sounds. Don't give up. I know it sounds cliched and all of that. And trying to get in with the, millions of potential rejections that you'll get, doors being slammed on your face, and, people laughing you off, it can be soul destroying, but do not give up. You will eventually get that one company that decides to give you a chance, even if it means um, taking a cut in the salary, or doing a role that you did not expect to do. Do it just to get your foot on the door, and then once you got that foot on the door, you are open to a whole load of possibilities that would make your transition a lot easier. So that's the first one. And the second one is try and be open to any and all opportunities. I know that, you know, some people might think, oh, I want to be an engineer, and they just focus on that. And, you know, it's hard, but if you can, you know, be open to any opportunity, talk to people, get as much information from anywhere you can, just to broaden your knowledge and your horizons. A lot of these companies, especially big tech, they always host events to encourage new talent to join. um, Keep on top of those and build your networks with those companies who do that. At least they will um, help you in your journey. It's actually very useful. They share a lot of useful knowledge. Talk to the recruiters in those events, because those events usually have recruiters on the standby as well. Talk to them, get their advice. Like, they are recruiters, so they know exactly what's needed. So their advice is always helpful. Yeah, but the main thing is, don't give up and be open, right? Be open.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect example of advice here. You know, don't give up, network, grow, learn and grow. It's actually the basis of any good career, I think.
Yeah, I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it is the basics, and it's very, very important that you do that.
It is. So thank you for sharing with us, Pearl. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Pearl.
Bye bye.